And we are live.
Hello again, everyone. This is Dr. Vlad Wyman again. Hope you didn't miss me too much. I'm here to introduce and kick off our first panel session of the morning. Our first panel today is our Ventura County Workforce Panel. We are actually so glad that each of you are here to join us today, and particularly for this session. First of all, I would like to introduce our moderator for both this morning's panels. We have two, as you know, two panels. So our moderator for both is Dr. Micah Weinberg. Dr. Weinberg is Chief Executive Officer and President of California Forward. This cross-sector civic leadership group is committed to leading a movement to improve government and create inclusive, sustainable growth in all of the state's regions. Dr. Weinberg's work focuses on increasing the dynamism, resilience, and inclusiveness of communities in California and also throughout the nation and the world. This actually requires all people to have access to the building blocks of the California dream. That includes economic growth, health and well-being, affordable transportation, housing, and lifelong education, as well as a healthy environment. By the way, if you have any questions for our panel this morning, please drop them into our Q&A chat box. And again, I'd like to say that I'm very excited to have Dr. Weinberg join us today. He will introduce our panelists and help me in welcoming Dr. Weinberg this morning. Micah, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you so much. We have a fantastic panel for you today. We're going to be focusing in our first session on employers, and in our second session more on nonprofits and governments, education, but dealing with a lot of similar topics. The recovery, when will it happen? We won't say will it happen, it's going to happen, but when and how? What changes have happened for employers during this time, and which may actually carry forward into the time after the economic downturn. And here in particular, how are the experiences different for small employers, for large employers, for people that provide services to employers, so that we can understand how that we can have a recovery that works for Ventura County's employers, their employees, their families, and their communities. So I'm really thrilled to have a number of folks here who will be able to speak to that directly. Gabrielle Mose, who is the president and founder of Seasons Catering, a wonderful small business in Ventura County. Claus Hornstrand, the vice president and head of global value and access at Amgen, where he's been for over 20 years. And Tracy Perez, who's the market manager for Ventura County for Manpower. So a really great mix of different types of employers right here in the county. So I'm going to start out with you, Gabrielle. So the really great keynote, I mean, really, really interesting. And we heard a lot about the future of work and where things are going and what that's going to mean for the economic recovery. But it sort of seems in a lot of ways that we've been thrust into that future now. So as an owner of a smaller catering business, what kind of changes have you made to adapt to this economic time, and which may be carried forward into the future?
Great question, Micah. Thank you. Well, one of the things I think that we're hearing a lot about, especially for small businesses, well, businesses in general, is creating new revenue streams, taking this situation and turning it into an opportunity. So the businesses that have been able to shift and do masks for the communities, Seasons in particular was able to create a heat and serve meal program, and we have a drive-through system and delivery subscription system now. So that's, for us, has been really a way to kind of just take what we've been handed and make the best of it. And, you know, in long-term thinking, I mean, this is going to create a new revenue stream. So it's a wonderful building block for the business. I think the team in general, I mean, we have no events. So our event directors are now our delivery drivers. We are taking our admin team and they're getting consultant training on how to do sales. Just a lot of different hats that everyone is wearing these days. And I think, you know, it really kind of fosters this very well-rounded individual in terms of being able to kind of step in multiple areas of the company. And we are a small company, so it's much more practical for us to be able to do that. But those kinds of things, I think the team really enjoys being able to learn new skills. I mean, that's a wonderful thing, and it's come out of necessity, but now we just, you know, it's an educational experience for them. So
that's great. The word that was sort of echoing in my head was resilience, right? That like the changes that you're making right now are going to make your business more resilient in the future. So hopefully, again, that's a silver lining that we'll see from this time. Claus, what sort of changes have been made at Amgen that may be carried forward?
Thank you, Micah. Yeah, of course, the first thing that came to mind when COVID hit was the safety and the well-being of our employees, the number one priority, right? So we spent a lot of time thinking about that. And on March 16th, very early in the process, we basically told all our employees in Thousand Oaks, 8,000 or so of them, to start working remotely. And then other things came later. For example, we come up with a monthly stipend to help pay for internet, because not everybody does that normally today, right? And some roles, however, cannot be performed from home, right? Such as manufacturing, and we have a fairly large manufacturing operations in Thousand Oaks, and scientists in the lab. If you're not in the lab, you cannot do your experiments. So we did also early on commit to continuing their pay during COVID. So once we put all the processes in place on how to safely return some folks, in particular manufacturing and scientists, because we want to ensure that we're able to continue to supply our medications, of course, to all the patients that need them. You know, we put in plans to give new masks every day. Everybody gets gloves, of course, temperature measurements when you walk into the office, continuous symptom screening and collection. Virus test is mandatory every 2 weeks, and contact tracing as well, pretty advanced contact tracing. So we also organize the teams in pods, right? So that if somebody gets exposed, then everybody stays home. In the beginning it was 2 weeks. Now I think we're down to maybe 7 days or so. So that if somebody for some reason gets it, it doesn't take down a whole department, right? And of course, we have a lot of wellness resources available, both for physical as well as mental health. This has been a big toll on mental health for everyone really. We suspended travel, as you can imagine. Childcare was probably one of the biggest issues, especially for families that have children, right? And we've been telling me. Yeah, no kidding. I got a 5-year-old, right? So we're very open and obviously as flexible as we can be when it comes to allowing people to work more asynchronous, right? So not everybody, and the thing is, we couldn't really take what we used to do, 3-hour meetings or 4-hour meetings, right, and translate that to WebEx or Zoom. It just doesn't work. So we had to really kind of rethink how we do meetings, shorter meetings, more breaks, right, and more asynchronous work. So obviously for my function, we got a crash course in WebEx and Zoom. It's been a way of working, and frankly, in a weird way, productivity actually increased for my department early on, because all you did was click between meetings, 14 meetings a day, and no commute, right? So you start at 6 o'clock in the morning and you end up at 6 o'clock at night, which is not really sustainable. So we've had to really take a step back after about 6 months of this to say, hey, we got to have less meetings, we got to have shorter meetings, because it doesn't work. Now, what will stick? There's silver linings, right? There are silver linings. The historic stigma of working remotely has been greatly reduced, right? In my mind, we can be productive. We don't have to go to the office. People work. And, I'm a big believer in Gandhi's trust begets trust, right? The more you show trust, the more trustworthy the people become, right? And we don't need to travel as much. I mean, I used to go to Asia for half a day meeting. Think about it. It's just the time you waste, the jet lag, the money. It's not worth it. So I think we're going to
climate impact.
Yeah, less travel, more time with family. And I think platforms, like Zoom and WebEx, etc., are here to stay. I really think that even when we go back, we're likely going to have a gradual and phased approach going back. Less people in the office, kind of a hybrid, I guess, model is what people call it at some point. And when we do, I think there's going to be less people in the meeting room. And some of us are going to be calling in from home. Everybody's going to sit with their laptops. They're going to be on with the people in the room and with the people that are working remotely. So I think there are things that definitely are going to stick.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I have a request for you, though.
Yes.
Can Amgen get, I know you folks do a lot of medicine. Can you guys do something for Zoom Brain? Because at the end of every day, I've been on these Zooms, right? So if Amgen could get on working on some medication for Zoom Brain, that would be really great.
No,
so you can go back, tell your colleagues. Yeah.
Yeah, I will do that. Now, in the meantime, though, before we, I send my discovery folks to start researching that, there are some stuff we're trying to do also to help the situation medically, right? Because we are obviously a large biotech company. And so one of our products that are currently approved for psoriasis, or Tesla, is currently being evaluated in studies for COVID as well.
Wow.
We are participating in a very large COVID R&D alliance with 20 or so other companies in this industry. We also have an agreement with Lilly. Lilly is one of the manufacturers of antibodies, right? Therapies against against COVID-19. And we are partnering with them to help them in the manufacturing area. And we also partner with NIH, National Institute of Health, as well, on thinking through what can be done and so forth and so on. So obviously, we're trying to do whatever we can. We're not a viral company per se, or a vaccine company, but there are things we can do, right? So we try to take many of those steps.
That's fantastic. Tracy, what are you seeing at Manpower and also at the companies you work with in terms of changes that have been made and things that may be carried forward?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that both, Gabrielle and Klaus have hit on it. We're right now experiencing such complexity in these shifts. We had to pivot rather quickly. Manpower Group is a world leader in workforce solutions. We have, a comprehensive family of brands that, equip us to be able to really take a look, and I think through our global research at the future of work and how to address these challenges. I feel very fortunate to be able to, here in Ventura County, work with companies to be able to kind of help them navigate through this. And I think one of the most important things is looking at your business contingency plans, right? Understanding where you were before the pandemic, how you can shift, adopting learning lessons from what we're going through and what we will continue to go through. It's likely that this shift and these changes that, our employers are having to face is likely going to continue. And so I think, at Manpower, we've made investments to make sure that we can work strategically with our clients. And our associates as well, because workers are having to pivot and change. And our keynote speaker did an amazing job to talk about what that looks like. We've done some research around the future of work, but looking at it from the perspective of an employee. I think it's important for employers to understand what is the new normal going to look like, but how do we address the needs of workers? And so, one of the things that we also have incorporated, Klaus talked a little bit about this in terms of his, returning to work strategies, making sure that the facility is, ready. We have a comprehensive critical assessment that we can partner with our clients with, and that really covers everything from new safety protocols, enhanced onboarding, staffing for specialized positions that we've never staffed for before, which are, health care, all healthcare related in terms of, addressing the pandemic, whether that's health survey collectors or temperature screeners, sanitation, and then contact tracers. Contact tracers are very important. So those are some of the things that we do, to work closely with our clients to make sure that, they can navigate as safely as possible. inclusive of that, you know, I think it's really important to talk about what, you know, we've had some heavily impacted sectors here in Ventura County of job seeker, or now they were former workers, now they're job seekers, right? So we're talking about industries like hospitality and restaurant and retail. Right. And I think it's really important for us, and what we're really trying to do is really work with that sector of employees or workers, and really allow them to understand that they have transferable skills, to know what those skills are, and really train them on how to take those skills and then transfer those skills to re-enter the job market.
I'm hearing a lot of that from, you know, from everybody, from Gabrielle and others, the flexibility and the resilience for employers, but also for employees. But speaking of folks that have been the most impacted, I'm actually dropping into the chat. We have a tool called the California Dream Index, and that allows us to look at how folks are doing and how their communities are doing from the perspective of economic opportunity, environmental stewardship, and racial and social equity. And one of the things that we know is that, unfortunately, this economic downturn, first off, just for starters, we like to think of ourselves as the good people in California. And all the people here are wonderful. And we actually, before the pandemic, had the highest rate of real poverty in the nation when you adjust for the cost of living, and really wide inequities by race, gender, and region. Much wider than a lot of other places that we think of as being less progressive. And then the economic downturn hits, and then the pandemic hits, right? And it has unfortunately had the biggest impact on those who had the least resilience, the biggest impact on our Latino communities, on our African American communities, on other marginalized communities and regions and industries. Claus, tell me a little bit about what Amgen is doing to address equity, and what kind of actions your company and other large employers can do. So we're talking about economic recovery, to promote an economic recovery that creates more equity and economic opportunity in the state.
Yep, no, really good question. So maybe first a baseline a little bit when you talk about equity, racial and gender equity of Amgen's workforce. So we have 35% of our employees are minority populations. 52% of them of the global workforce are women, and 74% of U.S. managers are trained in leading inclusive teams. Diversity really matters a lot at Amgen. We believe that an environment of inclusion fosters innovation, and innovation is our lifeblood, right? So we have a three-pronged approach, not completely unique, I'm sure, to promote diversity, inclusion, and belonging, because all three are very important. In particular now during COVID, it's much harder to feel inclusion and belonging when you're not actually seeing people live, right? The first one is recruiting and retaining, of course. And the second one is to create an inclusive environment for the folks that are staff members, right? Through education, educating people on how to do that. Doesn't come always completely naturally. You have to tell people how to do it, right? And then ensure that all employees have equal opportunity to succeed, regardless, obviously, of their gender, race, religion, sexual orientation, age, disability, and all the other protected statuses. But we have more work to do, right? We have to increase the percentage of women in senior leadership roles. We have to increase the percentage of African Americans in the company. And African Americans and Hispanics in senior leadership roles as well. So there's definitely more work to do, no doubt about that. A few other things we did in 2020, the Amgen Foundation pledged $7.5 million to support racial injustice, or support racial justice, sorry about that, and equal opportunity. We joined also a coalition that you guys have read about of 35 of the world's largest, best known companies, to change the employment paradigm for blacks in the U.S. It's known as 110, and we aim to hire 1 million black Americans into good paying, family sustaining jobs over the next 10 years. These are also folks without a 4-year college degree, right? The other last thing I'll mention is, which is a big topic for us as well, is that the way clinical trials historically has been done for various reasons, and this is not unique to Amgen, is that you typically a big portion of the patients in a clinical trial is ex-US. So we end up in a situation where the results from a clinical trial is not necessarily representative of the mix, the racial mix, for example, that we have in the U.S.
So outside of the United States is where a lot.
That's right. Many of the studies are done outside the U.S. for various reasons, right? Yeah. And we want to try to change that too, because when you launch a product and get FDA approval, you want to ensure that the results are representative for all the groups in the U.S. Right.
Right.
So we have had a lot of discussions about our own clinical trials. And also we have provided a corporate donation of $2 million, I think it was, to the Lazarex Cancer Foundation, a nonprofit that focuses in particular about how to improve diversity in clinical trials for cancer patients. So this is very important because folks with different background and different races have actually different reactions to medications, which is actually interesting and something you cannot ignore.
Yeah. So Gabrielle, like small businesses are a vehicle of economic opportunity for so many communities in the state. How do you think about, of course, most small businesses aren't making $2 million commitments or committing to hire 1 million people, right? But what can the small business community do, and what is the small business community doing to ensure that our economic recovery and the economy that we create in the wake of all this is more inclusive?
I think, okay, so first of all, Seasons is a women-owned company. It is a minority-owned company. I think that personally, it's never been an issue. I don't feel within our company. So we're just open to putting the right person in the right position, and regardless of any particular identities like that. So I just think Ventura County is such a small community too, that we just continue to, I mean, it's all a lot of it's word of mouth. You're bringing in different people. I don't think personally, it doesn't affect my small business or necessarily my industry locally that much.
But as you said, your small business itself is a shining example of creating opportunity, creating wealth, creating leadership within the community. So that's really wonderful.
Yeah.
Great, Tracy. How does Manpower think about these things?
Yeah. So diversity, inclusivity, and equality is huge. And I really think that, it really needs to be at the forefront when we start talking about strategic planning, because I want to ensure that our most, vulnerable workers and, job candidates can attain equal opportunity for their upskilling and career advancement. And so we really work a lot around that. Manpower has a program that to address this specific need. It's our MyPath program, and this MyPath program is offered to our associates at no cost. They have access to gain new skills. They can build upon their education through funded general education. They can get their college degree, certifications, online training, and it really creates that pathway for individuals to go from one job to the next. And we've made that investment so that there's no cost, because we want to be able to make that accessible to anybody, especially those most vulnerable and impacted. And it really does allow us to create a very meaningful experience for not only the job seekers and our current employees who work with Manpower, but our clients, because we are working hand in hand to help them get our associates and their workforce trained and progressing their career along. So, you know, the My Path program helps us to really attract better talent because we're giving them something of value, free cost of training, education, and I'm really proud because we have that methodology that has proven to be successful, and it's attainable for anybody that chooses to use it.
Great. Yeah. So this is really the last topic that I wanted to hit as we sort of segue into the next panel, and that is this, you know, and this has actually been a theme that we've been hearing about throughout the conversation, which is employees getting better training, better education, a broader set of skills. So, you know, as the rest of the panel thinks about this from the perspective of large or small employers, what are you doing to really, you know, kind of encourage your employees to do more education and on-the-job training, and how might that help with economic recovery going forward? Either Gabrielle or Klaus, you want to?
I'm sorry. I wasn't sure if that was a...
Sure, yeah. I can speak to that. So we've always encouraged our team to do continuing ed and kind of foster some interests that they have. I mean, we're in the food industry and we're in the entertainment industry, so there's a lot you can work with. So, you know, we talk about the mental ramifications of the experience we're all going through right now, and I think one of the things that as a leader that I've been able to kind of encourage people, like, reach out and see something you're interested in right now, learn about it, sign up for a course, you know, plan something for the future, that's something you can look forward to, that's gonna, you know, enrich you, not just on a personal level, but professionally as well. So I think right now I've really focused on that with the team. And again, it just makes us a much more well-rounded individual. And it's, you know, learning is fun. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, they're very lucky to have you as their boss. How about at a large employer like Amgen, Klaus? How, you know, how do you think about workforce development, on-the-job training, and continuing education?
Yes, so a couple of different things. So first, maybe to address what can we do to help the economic recovery. So a large successful company like Amgen has the ability, obviously, and frankly the obligation to support also local communities where we operate. And again, Amgen Foundation has come through here with committed a large sum of money for COVID relief, $12.5 million all in all. And a portion of that is also going obviously to Thousand Oaks, being our headquarters, right? So Seniors Concerns is an adult daycare located near Amgen's headquarters in Thousand Oaks, obviously received a grant from Amgen, $100,000 to ensure that their critical meals delivery program, interesting enough, right, is up and running for seniors that just can't afford it. The other thing, I talked about this before, childcare has become an issue, right? So early on, Amgen has had a partnership with the Khan Academy for a number of years, since 2015. So we renewed our commitment to work with Khan Academy and on their scientific side and biotech side in particular, right? And Khan Academy is obviously available free to anyone who wants to use it. And I certainly would recommend anyone who has children to visit the website. But it's been a big focus also for parents that have been forced to do kind of schooling at home as well, or only where their children are available to go to school part-time. We have an internal website dedicated to COVID-19 that gives updates, video messages from leadership, podcasts, and training, frequently asked questions, and so that's available, of course. And then we have our overall learning system that we've had for many years that is online, asynchronous learning, and they offer a plethora of required and voluntary training programs, and that's obviously was here before COVID and will be here afterwards, but we've leveraged that as well, of course, during this tough time.
Well, thank you to all the members of the panel, obviously, for participating in this panel. And in terms of childcare, We have not had any children or dogs walk in the middle of the panel, so you know that's an accomplishment there just for starters. But mainly, thank you for everything that you do in the community as employers, as community leaders, and the economic recovery is going to be quicker and more successful by virtue of your work. So thank you so much for being here with us this morning.
Pleasure.
And I'll turn it back over to you, Vlad.
Thank you, Micah, and thank you to all of our panelists and our panel discussion for taking the time to talk about these important topics this morning. Don't forget that the second panel is coming up very soon. Please look at your schedules. I'm happy that we were able to discuss these important topics from three different points of view, from points of view of small business, large business, and from the point of view of national recruiter. So right now it's time for us to do an interactive Q&A polling session. And those who have attended our conferences before, they know that I like doing that. And that's what we're going to do right now. So we have created these questions to see, first of all, who's in our audience today, what our audience demographic looks like. And also, we're going to ask you a few more difficult questions, and we hope for an honest response so that we can gauge also what's going on in our community and how we can help each other. That's the most important thing. So if you go from the chat, if you can see on the right-hand side, it says polls. Can everybody see that? If you can't see it, there is a blue arrow on the right-hand side of your screen. Please click on it, and then you will see again chat, polls, people, Q&A. Go to polls, and you see the first poll. The first question is really easy. Where are you signing on from today? Normally, we ask people, where are you driving from today? Hopefully, nobody was driving anywhere this morning. So where are you signing on from today? Most people, as you can see, are signing on from our own Ventura County, some people from Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, and some people are from other places in the world. So let's take a few seconds to do this question. And then, Brianne, when you're ready, please turn on to the next one. I guess it takes a little bit of time to switch from one question to another. Still answering this question, I guess. It's ended. Okay, good. We'll record, obviously, all the responses and then share them with you. The next question, if you scroll down, what's your gender? Pretty easy to answer, I guess, for most of us. Click on your answer and then click submit, please. Okay. We can end the poll, I guess. Now. How old are you? Another easy question. Please be honest. All right, wonderful. Let's move on. Next one is, what sector of the economy do you represent? And we can close the previous question. What sector of the economy do you represent? Agricultural, government, gig economy, education, high-tech, manufacturing, professional services, public health. I guess for some people it's not easy to answer because they represent a few, but the one that is, you think, closer to your industry. For now, we have no people joining us representing the agricultural sector, as well as tourism and hospitality, which is kind of surprising, but it is what it is. Okay. Let's close that poll. Question number 5, what brought you here? And now you can check all that apply. Whether you are here to learn more about the future of work, or to learn, I should say, to learn more about path to post-pandemic economic recovery, hear from industry leaders, hear from educational leaders, which you still will in a few minutes in the second panel. Nonprofits, government, also will hear from them as well. And the last question, or the last answer, is also, I have no idea why I'm here. There's always one person, to my experience, there's always one person who answers that question like that. Please check all that apply. Here we go. There's one person who doesn't know why he or she is here, or they're just humoring us. Very interesting. And, I'd like to thank you in advance for your participation in this poll. Okay. Moving on. I don't know why the next one is ended. Have we asked this question before? Has the way of doing business changed for your organization since the pandemic began? Brianne, if you can reopen this, or should we move on? Just let me know.
Go ahead and move on. I'll see if I can post it at the end.
Okay, thank you. Go to question number 7, everybody, please. Has your organization had to lay off or furlough employees? Yes, not yet, but some furloughs or layoffs may be coming, or no? Very interesting. For now, as we can see, thus far, most organizations have not had, but things are changing as more people respond. I can see that. Yes, answered only thus far 16%, almost 17 now. Okay, we'll wait a little longer. Okay. Numbers are still changing. So it would be interesting to find out how many organizations have to furlough their employees, or how many didn't have to. Still more than half didn't have to do it yet, or maybe they wouldn't have to do it at all. Okay, let's move on to question number 8. Has the organization been able to take advantage of government stimulus programs? Yes, no, we haven't had a chance, or no, we're not eligible. Please answer that question on behalf of your organization. Wow, look at the responses. 73% said yes. 23% said that they were not eligible. Okay. And those 3%, 3.85%, who haven't had a chance, there are multiple resources available through Ventura County and different non-governmental organizations. So please make sure that you take advantage of those opportunities if you're eligible. Okay, just a few more seconds on this question. We have a few left, just 4 or 5 questions left. All right. Moving on. Well, this one ended. Again, I think this is, we'll redo this one, right, Brienne?
Yeah, we're running close on time, so I will do my best to get the questions that ended early at the bottom, but please, we can just keep going through and people can keep answering. All of the polls are open at this
Absolutely.
moment.
Thank you. Number 10, has the organization changed workforce policies during the pandemic? Just a yes or no question. And I think I can predict the response. Absolutely. Very good. We can still go back and answer those questions that you haven't still answered if the poll is open. Number 11, if yes, if most people said yes. So if yes, has this change helped you in becoming more effective and efficient as an organization or not? Because sometimes policies, sometimes policies can be implemented to the detriment of an organization. So let's see what happens there. Yeah, for most people, for most organizations, it helped organizations to become more effective and efficient. But for 34%, the answer was no. And it would be really interesting to dig deeper at one point and find out why. And by the way, if you want to dig deeper and find out why, please let me know. If you don't know how to find me, you can do it through Visida or through Cal Lutheran. Number 12, looking into the future, do you see your organization offering more long-term remote work options? Yes, no, or not sure. About a third, not sure yet, which is understandable. But overwhelming majority and an overwhelming majority says yes. People say yes. They see that their company will be offering more long-term remote work opportunities. Okay, you can still respond to this one. And the last question, if we can reopen it, I think for 1 minute. I know that we're kind of run out of time, but if we can reopen the last question, because that's a really important question. How quickly do you think your business will be able to recover? Will be able to recover post-pandemic? I don't know, Brian, will we be able to open this for a sec?
I'm working on reposting it.
Okay.
That's the minute.
Let us know when it's ready so that we can quickly answer and then move on to the next panel. Our panelists are waiting for us. In the meantime, I would like to thank all of you for being here today. Interesting program is still ahead. We have an interesting panel, as I said, consisting of representatives by the government, education, and nonprofit sector. So here's the last question. As you can see it now, how quickly do you think your business will be able to recover? Almost immediately, 1 to 2 years, 3 to 5 years, more than 5 years, or unfortunately, sometimes never. And we'll record that as well. I think what is shown now is not correct, but we'll record it separately. It's right now number 1. If you go scroll back, you will see that this is not question number 1 right now. And as you can see, most organizations feel that they will be able to recover in either 1 to 2 or 3 to 5 years. So from 1 to 5 years. Well, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I would like to thank you very much. I'm sure when we gather and analyze all the results, we'll be able to share them with you. In the meantime, enjoy your next panel. Thank you very much, and I'll see you later.